It's 5 o'clock. So we're calling the meeting to order for Tuesday, April 15th. We have guests here in the audience. We have Jimmy Price online. He's one of the candidates for the Selectboard position. And we have Stacy, who is a board member who's homesick with her kiddos. Stacy, are you still able to take notes?
I will be muted though, so you guys don't hear the whole time.
Mumblings, okay. Perfect. And so the first item on the agenda is to approve the minutes of the March 18th meeting that we put off for a week or so. We were all here, I think.
It was just to clean them up.
It was just to clean them up. Is there a motion to approve the Tuesday, March 18th minutes that I sent out earlier the last couple weeks?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, Zara moves.
I'll second.
And Larry seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and then our next is to approve the minutes of Tuesday, April 1st, which I sent out earlier and Stacy had pulled together so beautifully. Is there a motion to approve those?
I would make a motion to approve
Okay.
those. Those were beautiful.
Zara moves. Is there a second?
I'll second.
And Larry seconds. And all those in favor of the April 1st minutes say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Then we have approval of the agenda. We have a couple of little minor changes. One is that I forgot to put down the treasurer's report, just for you to give us a little update. So we'll fit that in probably just at the end, unless you have to leave early.
I don't have to.
Okay, and then you wanted to move
The budget committee
the budget
discussion.
committee up to right after the voting of the select board member,
Right.
before the highway report, right?
Right.
Okay, so so that'll become, just remind me. Okay, so is there a motion to approve the minutes with those minor changes?
I will motion to approve.
Okay, Zara moves. Is there a second?
I'll second.
And Larry seconds. And all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. Okay, so the first item on the agenda, we're just a tad early, but we have everyone here, is to welcome the 3 townspeople who expressed an interest in filling the vacant position of the select board that was left vacant by Vic Dwyer through town meeting day, March 2026. And then if that person who is chosen tonight wants to continue to fill out that term, they run for the remainder of that term, which I think Vic ran for a 3-year term. He did not serve any of it, so this would be for 1 year
Of 3.
of 3, and then if you liked it, or even if you didn't, whoever ran would be running for the remaining 2 years of a 3-year term. Does that make sense?
Unless it was a mistake on the ballot, it's he ran for a 2-year.
Oh, you ran for a 2-year? Okay, sorry, yep, so thank you for that correction. It was 2 years, Stacy, that Vic ran for. So it would be 1 more year of the remaining 2-year term. So we received, and we have here, letters from 3 folks, or notes from 3 folks showing their interest, which I sent to all of you earlier. And now what we're doing is giving each one of these people the opportunity to introduce themselves, share with us what interests them in serving on the board, a little bit of their experience of what they might be able to bring to the board. And then, as I explained in my email to the 3 candidates last night, so that you understand how this process works, obviously there's only 1 position. And so what happens is board members hear from all 3 first, and then after we've had an opportunity to ask questions and everyone has said what they want to say, someone from the board nominates someone. And there may or may not be a second for that person, depending on if anyone wants to second that nomination. If there is a second, then we go on to say, is there another nomination, to see if there's another board member who's like, I want to nominate this other person, right? And again, you have to have a second in order for anything to go to a vote. So, and if that's the case, you might say, is there another, so that there's an opportunity if that's the case. Then each person who got a nomination plus a second gets to go to vote. I did ask Sarah, because we're so small, what happens if there's a tie, and when there's a tie, no one gets elected. So that just so you know, like, we don't want to be put in that position where no one gets elected. But I will also say that, for those folks who are not selected, we still have a lister position,
And budget committee.
a budget committee person, and I forgot, we also have a select board assistant. That's a paid gig, which is about 5 hours a week we have budgeted. Is that right?
About 3 hours a week.
Okay, 3 hours a week at $25 an hour. And I anticipate it's probably not more than 3 hours a week, if
Right,
anything
'cause
is
we only
less, but
get
yeah.
every other-
Right, so, and basically, the select board assistant is coming to the meetings, it's taking the minutes, and, at this point, I've been building the agenda, so there could be that piece as well, or there may be something slightly more complex, like, we have to send a letter to everyone that isn't like a town clerk duty job, something like that. So there are other ways for you to serve in the community, in other ways, just not necessarily on the board. So does everyone understand that process? Any questions on the process? Okay. I think Jimmy, I invited you to come to talk to us first. Doesn't really matter, but I think you were maybe the first person to send something. So if you want to, I'll give you the floor, the Zoom floor. And just tell us a little bit about yourself, and what interests you in the position, a little bit of your skill set that you think you might bring, and then we'll ask some questions if we have any. So take it away.
Well, my name is Jimmy Price, and I moved to Middlesex in 2019. I'm originally from Oklahoma and moved to Vermont in 2013, so I've been in the lovely Northeast for quite a while now. But since I've moved here and started looking into some of the way that our local governments work, and found how it's quite a bit different than how it was handled where I'm from. And after seeing the calls for volunteers to step up and help, I thought that it would be a great time for me to try to step past some of my own social anxiety and try to become a better member of the community and help out some. My professional experience is mostly in technology sector. I'm a IT specialist for the state of Vermont, in the disability determinations department. And I love that career path. I love what I do there. But I also have quite a bit of experience with project management and just management in general. So like I said, I don't have a whole lot of knowledge in local governments or the select board or that, but I thought that this would be a great opportunity to figure it all out and try to help out at the same time.
Thank you, Jimmy. Board members, do you have any questions for Mr. Price?
Nothing I can think of.
Okay. Larry, do
No,
you?
good.
Okay. Stacy, do you have any questions? No,
Can I revisit them though? Can I come back if I have a question?
of course, yeah.
Okay.
The other thing I just wanted to point out too, as far as, and I think I mentioned this when I was communicating with all of you, that the commitment to the select board is the first and third Tuesdays of each month from 5 up until like 7:30, depends on how late it goes. The expectation is that people are in person unless they really can't be. It's just much easier to have people in person, but sometimes people are sick or they're away or whatever. and they come on Zoom, but it's preferred that people are in person. And then occasionally we have, other meetings, based like, well, the flood and COVID happened, we have meetings every week, but that hopefully is never going to happen again. So there is a certain amount, but the actual sort of work, everyone kind of takes on a little role of some sort. Like Zara is the chair of the road committee that she formed, like that's its own special group. Someone may decide, I'm going to, work on the new website, along with, some volunteers who are also working on it. So it's not a lot of work outside of these meetings, but there is some level of involvement. So just to make that clear to everybody. Okay, so thank you, Jimmy. Annette, why don't you share with us your interest and experience that you would bring to the board?
Okay. I'm Annette Halaz, and I am an advanced practice nurse. I'm RN CDE, which is a certified diabetes educator. I worked at Central Vermont Medical Center until 2004, and I ran my own department. I was the head of health promotions, and I had 6 people that worked under me, and they said that I was a department running on its own within the hospital. And I made money, surprisingly. And then I worked on my own for a company called Innovex, which I had the Northeastern United States as my territory, and I would travel around and provide diabetes expertise to different things. And I was number 1 in that in the United States, and that was very good. Now I'm retired, and I worked on the listers for 3 years, and recently retired. And I'm concerned with this town. I've lived here since 1976, I should say, and I lived in Vermont since 1973, and I am concerned with the town more so from just the roads. I'm concerned about the neighborhoods, what's happening with the Brook Road and this road and that road. I forgot what I was going to say, but whatever. I would like to be a part of this town's politics, I guess you call it. I've been involved in it for quite some time. I'm well aware of things that have been going on here. That's about it, I guess. I don't really know. Anyone have any questions?
Any questions for Annette? Okay.
I bring a soft touch to things.
Okay.
I'm a nurse, so I always have that, trying to work through things, and I bring a soft touch. But that's me, and I am vocal about things, though.
Great, thank you. You're all set, Stacy? No questions right now?
I'm curious to hear more about the concerns. Is it responsive to the flooding in the last 2 years, or is it and also what you meant by just like concerns about neighborhoods, like just what direction are you going with that, or what change would you like to see in the town?
It's not because of the floods, although the floods are part of it, but the flood is in what's happening with the Brook Road and that sort of thing. But I have seen a lot in this town, and since I've been here since 1976, and people come and go, and neighborhoods come and go, and I would just like to be a part of that. I don't really have a specific direction which I would like to go in. but I'd like to hear both sides and make a fair decision on things. That's important to me, is hear all the sides and make a fair decision on things. Was there another part to your question?
I don't think so. Mostly just like what's your, where would you like to see the town going that would be responsive to the changes you've seen?
Where do I see the town going? I see the town helping out her constituents and becoming a vital piece of the Vermont framework. I really, I don't really know how to answer that as where's the town going. I don't know, we'll see where it takes us. I mean, really, wherever it takes us.
Thank you, Annette.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Annette? Okay. And then Paul, if you want to join us in front of the camera, that might be helpful. You can be seen.
Just take it from there.
Just take it from there. Introduce yourself. Tell us what you're interested in and what experience you bring.
All right. My name is Paul Sermonara. Moved to Middlesex in 2009. I've got 3 kids here. My wife works at CVMC. In my past role, I was the road foreman for the town for 10 years. I do bring a lot of road experience. I've had the pleasure of working with Jay over there. I've worked a lot with Liz and Zara as well as Eric during some of the kind of unprecedented times with FEMA stuff and helping to navigate, which I've really enjoyed doing, working with these folks. I think my biggest drive here would be road stuff. Roads, other than the school, are our biggest expense and really biggest concern. It's really our only infrastructure in town. So I've got a lot of vested interest in it too. I've got a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that are sitting out there as well. And I'd love to just see a continuation of that. In my 9 to 5, I'm a division manager at Daly Percy, an excavation company. We actually did the repair in 2023 on Brook Road. So I was part of that, so I've even been working with the town even after I got done with them. And at this point, I'd like to just be able to bring that knowledge, that helpfulness, and figure out some of these really tough financial decisions that we're going to be burdened with all this FEMA stuff. It's somewhere that we've never been, quite frankly. It's a totally different time. So love to be able to be part of that creative thought process, some of these things that we've got to think outside of the box, and maybe a little bit of hope and prayer that some of that money comes through. So that's really about it.
Okay, thank you. Are there questions for Paul? Larry?
No, I'm good.
Stacy, do you have a question? No? No, okay. I guess in terms of the roads, I feel like my biggest worry, if you want to call it that, about the future of Middlesex is our infrastructure, and most of our infrastructure is our roads. I think, what keeps me awake at night is not that my house is going to flood, but that the roads to my house are going to flood. And that's going to be the demise, right? Like that not just our town, but other places in Vermont may not be livable, and because we can't get to them. What keeps me up at night is yet another flood. And like you said, we have this money that we still haven't been reimbursed for. And how much more can we borrow? How much more do we want to borrow as a town? What I'd really like us to see as a town is to start to be thinking about contingency plans, right? Like, what would it look like if we didn't have the federal government to help us? How is it that we as a town can remain resilient? So can you speak a little bit to that, Paul, like your thoughts on like that and from a sort of a road and cost perspective of your experience?
Yeah, I mean, I wish we could, like any town, I work in Stowe, and their damage was twice what ours was. And they've got the taxpayer base that is twice, three, four, probably four times. And even with them, throwing all the money they can, there's just no way that we can build our infrastructure, which is 90 to 95% aggregate/dirt. There's just no way of building that to survive 100-year floods, especially on an annual basis. Where we go from here, I don't have the answer. Again, I'd love to be part of the creative thinking and what resources do we have that we can utilize. Regarding money, again, with FEMA being so up in the air, I fear a little bit that we may be on the hook for more than we want to be. I have that fear, but I think it is important to make sure our dollars are being spent wisely, and every dollar we put in the ground, that it's a well-spent dollar and not just throw money at it type of answer. So that's kind of where I stand with that. I wish I had an answer for how we build our but it's
It was
really
a big
not.
ask.
Yeah, I would love to have brought that answer tonight, and I'm just not. You have to give me another night
Okay.
to try that.
Bring the magic wand
Yeah.
next time.
I think Middlesex is a lot more than just the roads, though. It's the community around it, and it's the people around it. I have lived through exactly what you said. I live up high, not a problem, but my road was washed out. I lost my car, which was from March until July. That's how long my car lasted, and I had to get a new one because the beginning of the road there washed out.
Yep.
And so, it happens, and we just pick up our pieces and keep going, I think.
Any other questions for Paul? Well, I think that also just to recap that we do have a great community, and I'm so pleased that we have 3 great candidates for this position. And again, we can only choose one. So if there's no other questions, I would offer someone from the board to make a nomination.
I want to, before I make my nomination, I want to say why. Is that okay?
Yep.
Or I guess I should say, so I'm going to nominate Paul, and the reason is, while I know the two of you, I don't know you, Jimmy. My reason is, I have only been on the select board for a year. We have 2 new members. Paul has been attending these meetings for how many years?
More or less since I got done with the town.
As well as being our foreman for 10 years. So that's a long time. So it's a lot of historical knowledge that he has that I don't have, that Larry doesn't have, that Stacy doesn't have. Liz, you've been here for 12 years, and I know that you've worked in conjunction with Paul and had to ask him questions all throughout. He's always been here to assist us, and he has been fantastic on the road committee. And I think he just has that kind of general knowledge that Vic had that we are now missing from this board. So for that reason, I am going to nominate Paul Sermonaro.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second to that? Okay, I will second the nomination for Paul Sermonaro. Okay, are there any other nominations?
I would nominate James Price.
Okay, a nomination for Jimmy Price. Is there a is there a second?
I would second.
Okay, Stacy seconds the nomination for Jimmy Price. Is there any other nominations? Okay, hearing none. We now do a vote. So first, we vote on Paul, and then we vote on Jimmy, depending on what the vote is on Paul, I think is how it works. So, All those in favor of Paul Sermonera, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Stacy, ayes. Okay, so the ayes have it. So, which means that I don't believe we would move to, I guess we could. All those, okay, all those opposed? Okay, abstained.
Stay.
Okay, so Larry's abstaining. Okay, so all those in favor of Jimmy Price, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Nays? And abstained. And I guess
I'm a nay.
I'm a nay, yeah.
I would be an aye.
I don't,
She can't be an aye.
I don't think you can be an aye twice.
Okay.
Okay. So, Paul Sermonera has been selected as the new select board member. Thank you. Thank you, Annette. If you have any interest in being the select board assistant.
No, thank you.
No. Jimmy, if you have any interest in being the select board assistant or a lister, we have those positions available. And the budget committee?
Yeah, actually, if I can make a plea to Jimmy, Jimmy, we would love to have you as part of the town and to have your IT skills here. Would you please consider becoming one of the budget committee members? We're one member short. Mark here is a fantastic leader. I'm on that committee as well. It meets once a month, not every month, while we take some summer months off. It's a great introduction to Middlesex Town, and/or Annette, if you would like to be a part of the budget committee, we would love to have you as well. So if one of the two of you would fill that position, that would make us very happy. And I guess, I don't know how they get in touch with Mark.
I don't know, can you have two people, or is there a certain number of people on the budget committee?
I think there's just,
I think it's 5,
And how many do you have now? 4?
4.
Okay.
Great. Well, thank you guys very much.
Okay.
I'll look into the budget committee.
awesome,
Okay,
thank you.
Sounds great. And anyone else who's sitting here who wants to be the select board assistant? I see you're raising your hand.
Too late, it's too late.
Make a comment.
Yes.
For anybody that is interested in the town, is to join these meetings. I mean, everybody has a voice. I mean, I've said
Yep.
things, and it just, you get a lot of different opinions, and it can help the town grow.
I totally agree. The more the merrier to these meetings. They really do make a difference, and they're far more interesting for us.
He's just gonna grab his stuff.
Yeah. They're far more interesting for us when we have people who are actually here listening and commenting, for that matter. And Jimmy, if you do want to stay, we are moving our next agenda item, which is the budget. If you're interested in just hearing a little bit, the next item we're moving up from the agenda, which is called. It's called the Budget Committee to present municipal salary wage range recommendation. And again, I just want to thank you all. It really means a lot to all of us that we had all of you express an interest in this position. And don't let your nays dissuade you from being involved, because that's how democracy works. And we are thankful for it every day.
Everybody.
And we can use
All hands on
everybody.
deck.
In fact, if you want to help weatherize, my husband's organizing the weatherization right now. Okay, so if I can pass it on to Mark, I guess, if you want to take the lead
Sure.
on the piece around the municipal salary wage range recommendation.
Sure, thanks, Liz. So this memo and proposal was put together, I think, as really a follow-on to discussions we had in putting together next year's budget. And it was really around trying to figure out what to offer people who were coming into positions that other people were vacating. So from a high level, it's more about defining a process, a repeatable process for bringing people into town positions, both full-time and part-time, in sort of a documented, equitable, fair manner, and using primarily the Vermont League of Cities and Towns data to sort of calibrate what those ranges would be. And by ranges, I mean minimum, midpoint, and max. And then those ranges would be, they'd be updated regularly, maybe not annually, but as the numbers in the VLCT annual presentation changes, so that maybe we have a chance for having longer-term employees still have some wiggle room in their salaries as well. So this is more about formalizing a process that, at least from an outsider, has been somewhat arbitrary in terms of assigning a wage to an individual. I know we did it about 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago. We did a town-wide redo of the wages. We looked at the VLCT data, but again, that was a snapshot in history. It really wasn't a process. So I do want to give a shout out to Samantha Bodwin, because as the new person on the budget committee, she was the one who questioned, well, why don't we have wage ranges for these positions? So this led us to this proposal. The other thing I want to mention is if the select board thinks this is a good process to go forward on, I'm suggesting that the budget committee do the number crunching and come back with a proposal in a couple of months by position, what the ranges would be and how often they'd be updated. That's my spiel.
And is there, and you can probably answer this, Cheryl, like, you know how you have shared positions, right? And so someone may be a bookkeeper, but also an assistant town clerk, and those wages may be different, right? The bookkeeper may make more money than the assistant town clerk. So when someone's doing their timesheet, do they actually, and they're sharing those positions, do they actually get a different hourly rate?
No.
And that's one of my sort of concerns, is that none of these positions, except for town clerk, are, and, you know, maybe, road foreman, are necessarily full-time positions. And so we piecemeal together these positions to get someone to be a full-time equivalent. And so I think that's something to just consider. Like, you wouldn't want to have the assistant town clerk have a wage range of 25 to 35, and then the, that same person is going to be the bookkeeper, and that's, 36 to 47 or something like that, because they're two different wage ranges, but they're
Right.
sharing that position.
So there's a way to do it. I mean, it depends on whether the select board wants to go there or not. To formalize it, you'd basically say how many hours a week the position does this, how many hours a week the position does that, and take the wage ranges and multiply them by the percentage, and there you go.
You can't do that.
Because,
But you can't do that because you never know. Everything changes day by day, and some days I could be a full-time bookkeeper, and some days I'm a full-time assistant town clerk, so there's no way to gauge what you're going to have before that. Everything flip-flops in a moment's notice. You know what I mean? So there's just no way that you're going to say, well, this person's going to give us 10 hours this and 10 hours that, or 10 hours that. It's just not going to happen. It's not feasible.
actually, I mean retroactively. I mean, at the end of the week, you decide the best you can how much you spent doing this, how much you spent doing that on the honor system, and we take the two
We do
wage
that
ranges.
already. We do that already.
But they make the same hourly rate, don't they?
Right, they make the same hourly rate, but the hours are just like, I have 4 positions. They, right now, 5, whatever you call them. And I divvy out my hours based on, pretty much in my head, okay, this is what I spent most of this day on, and I jot it down on my calendar, Lately, it's, my calendar's kind of like overflowing a little bit.
But you make one hourly wage.
1 hourly wage.
Right. And I guess that would be my, like, it's going to be some thought that has to be put into this, is how do you have a wage range if somebody's doing very different jobs? It might not make a difference if they're,
A lot of times you'll have a scale, like when I was in the corporate world, is dependent on experience. Even though you're doing 4 different jobs, if you don't have the experience in all of them, then you're going to be on the higher scale of that. of that wage scale. That'd be one way to look at it.
Sorry, who's speaking?
Shelley Discharging,
Shelley.
Shelley does,
Oh, thank you.
sorry.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
No,
You
she's
can
just
see
taking
your name.
notes.
She's taking notes online. Yes, Larry.
I'm thinking that maybe a better way to start is to find, excuse my naivety as getting involved into the town politics now in these different positions. On this list, what positions are full-time, what positions are part-time, and what's the history? What have we combined in the past, and or what are we looking to combine in the future? And what are the current rates that these people are receiving now, I guess is my question.
So I'll try to answer as many of them as I can. As far as I know, maybe the town clerk, I don't even know if that's a full-time position anymore.
I think it's 32 hours.
which
So-
is full-time.
Yeah, which is full-time,
So that's
equivalent for like benefits.
That's one. I don't know if any of the others are full-time jobs.
Yeah.
Not sure.
So we need to figure that out.
Right.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's been, for the most part, 32 hours because we're closed on Fridays, right? And that, in the past, somebody might be a town clerk assistant and the town treasurer, or the town treasurer and the bookkeeper, right? Like it doesn't necessarily, they don't necessarily always go together. It depends on the person and the expertise that they bring. Or it could just be like when we had Marika, she was just the town clerk assistant and she worked 12 hours a week or something like that, right? So it kind of differs. Yeah, Sarah.
But isn't that kind of part of this process, is figuring out what the town needs in terms of employees and employee hours so that we can then budget for that correctly?
Yes.
So maybe this is the beginning of that kind of longer conversation. And I had suggested to Sam and Mark that maybe we get together and talk about what the town needs in terms of computers and monitors, and maybe this is part of it, like bodies, people to do the work.
Samantha, you have a question. Samantha Bowden is on Zoom, Stacy.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention, we might want to look at different wages for different positions. And I say that meaning like you wouldn't want, I'll just use Cheryl as an example. So say Cheryl was to be the select board assistant and take meeting minutes. You wouldn't want to pay her, I wouldn't think, $37 an hour to do that. So I think you kind of want to look at some of these positions. And I mean, I don't really know how it works with like Sarah or Cheryl and how they keep track of their hours for these different positions, but I would think you would want to be somehow recording that on your time card, so you're putting this amount of hours in for this or this, so you're kind of paid appropriately versus too high or too low.
So just to add on to that, so let's just take an example. If Cheryl's town clerk and bookkeeper, or treasurer, town clerk and treasurer, let's say, and the total of those two is, let's just say it's 40 hours a week, to make it easy, and she works 3 days a week as the treasurer and 2 days a week as the town clerk, and they're at different wages. Her paycheck would be based on 3 days at one wage and 2 days at the other.
But that's not how it is right now.
No, I understand. I'm just saying it's a
And I mean,
different.
is it even feasible on the computer system or in our payroll system to do that?
Yeah, I can do that.
Oh, okay.
That's not the problem at all, but I'm gonna tell you right now, if I'm gonna sit in this office for the amount of hours that I sit in there, I think my time is valuable all the way across the board. Because no matter what, I'm up doing something. I'm doing the town clerk, I'm doing the treasurer, I'm doing delinquent tax collector, I'm doing those jobs. And to sit there and be able to say, oh, well, wait a minute, I just spent 15 minutes doing this job, so that's, my time's worth less than what it would be to do the other job. I don't know. I mean, that's
No, I
just
know, and I
me.
think this is just, this
Right.
brings to the conversation when you guys do this. So I think it's a great idea.
Right.
We do this.
Right.
And that is taken into account. How do we, or that if that is how we decide to do things, that it's communicated very clearly to whoever is being employed, that this is what they are being hired for and at those rates. Like, I don't think the intention is to change anyone's rates right now, but this is a way for us to have a better handle and have a better sense of how many hours are required for those various tasks. Do you have another thought?
I just was going to say, so I do my timesheet and I have to separate from 4720 damage to 4810. So aren't you right now? I mean, we're not.
I break down my timesheets
But
every
aren't
single
you the
week.
same rate for clerk and treasurer?
I am, and for delinquent tax collector and everything, so right
Yeah.
That
across the
makes
board.
it easy. Yeah.
Right, and it
But
makes,
that
I mean,
wouldn't
it does
necessarily be the
But
case.
yeah, so what we're trying to get ahead of is like, say Cheryl's done, like Sarah was. Walks out. What are we paying the next person? That's what this is about.
Yeah, okay.
Well, and I think from my conversations when I was looking to hire an assistant town clerk, that nobody wants to come in here and do 15 hours and not have the benefit of having everything. And when I talked to Moortown and when I talked to Duxbury, everybody was consistent with what Moortown is set up exactly like we're trying to set it up, with having the one person do two positions, like bookkeeper and assistant town clerk. And they pay her straight across the board for everything that she does because of the same reason.
Yeah.
You know, and I do track my time. Like, I have a town clerk, assistant town clerk, treasurer, delinquent tax collector, all the way, and I track my hours that way. But
Yes,
I
Larry.
do have a question to come. Do you want to do all those jobs?
I don't.
It sounds like you're
If I-
busy.
If I get, my assistant starts on the 21st, and I think she's going to be really good, I think. And, you know, I think as long as someone comes in here and gets trained and can do those pieces and deal with the daily activity of people walking in the door.
Okay.
I mean, because people are walking, it seems like over the last year, there've been more foot traffic in this office than I've seen ever.
Right. It just seems like a lot of positions that you hold. That's why I asked that question. I don't mean to be rude about it.
No, treasurer and bookkeeper kind of like merge over and overlap anyway.
Sure.
And,
Yeah.
you know.
And then the other comment I was making to Zara was that I was lucky enough to be handed the personnel policies. So last week,
Right.
or 2 weeks ago, if I could be part of that group, because that should be documented within these policies.
I fully agree, and
Okay.
I said
Thank
that
you.
earlier too. Yep, I agree.
Alrighty, so I don't think there's any action. I think that, you know, I give you the blessing, I don't know if the other board members do, for this to go on, and report back to us whenever you just contact me when you want to get on the
Sure.
agenda again.
I think it'll be June.
Okay. All
Thank
right.
you.
Yes, thank you very much.
All righty. Thanks, folks. Appreciate it.
Yep, thanks for coming.
Oh, Mark, what'd you do?
You can't leave.
Eric, can you fix that?
Open up.
All you have to do is just click back.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, thanks, guys. Alrighty, so now we are moving to the highway report and FEMA roadwork update from Eric and Zara. And then we're going to check on the status of the municipal highway grant application due today. The status of annual financial plan for town highways, and discuss upcoming summer hour schedule for road crew action likely. Okay, so you sent us a highway report.
Yep.
I don't know that we printed. Did you print that highway report?
Yep, it was in that pile of
It's in there. It's in the
Oh, yeah,
back.
here it is, the bi-monthly road report. Alrighty. Take it away there.
Sure. The International is going to McLeod's on the 25th for the rear suspension brackets that need to be replaced. We have a cross culvert on Brook Road that is failing, and we need to
What?
replace it.
Not a
The
new
bottom
one.
is rotted out on it. It's by the old driveway to 126 Brook Road.
Not a new one.
No, it's not a new one.
Okay.
I think one that we didn't replace.
So one culvert is now failing. Okay.
I am going on vacation next week, so I plan on working on that when I get back the following
Okay.
week. The grader's been out. We've been filling potholes, 3 Mile Bridge Road, Cross Road, the apron to Lower Sunnybrook and Lower Barnett. And yeah, that's about it.
All right. And mud season seems to be pretty darn good.
Yeah.
I mean, all mud seasons, are never good,
Less
but,
worse.
yeah, this
It's
less.
less worse.
Relatively.
In relative terms,
Very
yes.
relative.
Well, it seems like it's been a slow thaw
It has
because it's
been
been
slow.
cold,
Yep.
right? And then,
It wasn't all at once.
right, okay. Any questions for Eric on the roads?
Yeah, in the budget committee, we talked about that you have a Freightliner dump truck that you want to buy. But it's already in the budget for last year, you have $157,250.
That was the International supposed to be replaced.
Oh, okay. So are you buying that?
I was waiting to see if we can even get money.
Was already
We have to get a
budgeted.
loan.
Oh, right.
I mean, we might not get one because we're,
Well, I don't know.
I'm kidding.
Last I knew, we couldn't borrow any money, so that's why
We're
I
pretty
had.
strapped.
we're pretty strapped, okay.
Until this obligated 2.8 million comes in, if it comes in.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that came up was international dump truck, if not replaced in year 26, 195.5. So maybe we should get clear with Mark on
Yeah,
what was budgeted, what's been put in the budget
The
prior.
International was due to be replaced this year.
Okay. And
This
the
fiscal
only,
year we're in right now.
the only note he did say is though, if we do buy it after July 1st, even though it was budgeted for last year, then we don't have to make a payment for another year.
Mhm.
Okay, that's it. That's it.
Okay. Oh, I shudder.
Projects for this year, have we figured that out based on what Dirt Tech has done, is
Yeah, we're gonna have
anticipating to do?
Yeah, we have to do some work on Norton Road. We got storm damage repairs that are gonna be done, but that's on a small section. But we really need to ditch that. There's a couple other roads that are gonna need attention.
Plus, we've got 4 giant
Yeah,
box
but
culverts.
that's irrelevant for the town crew. We've got.
The only reason
plenty
I
of
ask
things
is
to
more 5-year road plan. I know that kind of goes completely out the window after everything that's happened with Dirt Tech. I think some people will be interested in knowing
Yeah.
what the plan is moving
Yeah.
forward, is really all it is.
Yep. Because we've had East Hill, Center Road, Notch Road will be just about rehabbed this summer. South Bear Swamp, we've had a lot that's been redone. so
Big strides.
It's a big move forward.
I'm still, and maybe I keep asking this every time, but I would just like to hear it again.
Sure.
The latest flood, what's the number for the latest flood?
4810
4810,
is the newest one.
the newest flood. Did we get our hydraulic studies back yet?
Nope.
Okay, so theoretically, there's still work to be done from the 4810 flood that theoretically could get reimbursed by FEMA.
If we hurry up, we'd have to get, I mean, we haven't bid
I
it.
know they've been there because I've heard people said they've seen people
Okay.
looking at it.
But didn't you say that we can ask for an extension
Yeah.
too for 4810?
Well, we should be able to. Well, I shouldn't say that. For 4720, we were able to.
Okay, because isn't it 1 year from the date of the flood that the work has to be completed, or that has to be, probably has to be allocated?
Obligated.
Obligated, right.
Yeah. In
And
the
so
process
right
to be
now,
done.
we.
I think you have 18 months.
We have 18 months, okay. So,
But not that
it's-
that does us any good.
it doesn't do us any good because it's winter by that time. And then, and so by asking for an extension, we might potentially
Push it out.
be
to
able to
next
push it
summer.
out till next summer, 27.
But if-
Or, I'm sorry, it's 2026.
It would be better if we just got the hydrological studies back and got the numbers and pushed it through and got prepaid for work that we need to do in the future.
Yeah.
Yes, if we got
Ideally.
prepaid.
We still have one hydraulic engineer, like Shrivers and Strings guy within our region. Is that still the holdup? Are we
Yeah.
working with,
We're working with Michelle Redmond.
oh, okay, Michelle's different than who?
Jaren's A&R and Michelle is state hydraulic, right?
Interesting. Okay, so that's changed since, okay.
So what we do know is that we can't borrow any money to do any 4810 work. I mean, we wouldn't want to, I don't think. Because we just, don't know if it's gonna get reimbursed. Like, I wouldn't advise that we started 4810 work unless we were prepaid by FEMA.
I would agree.
Because I don't know how else we would pay for it unless we took out a big bond.
Tis correct.
So, okay, so right now, summer, the summer is Dirt Tech doing are they doing the box culverts?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, they're gonna be starting, actually, the week I get back.
Okay. And how long is that gonna take?
Probably a good portion of the summer.
Okay. So roads will be closed and stuff potentially?
Yeah, we'll put out notices for
Yeah,
that.
okay, good.
Like with Notch Road, they're gonna have to make a temporary road around that.
Oh, wow.
And
Big
the
deal.
other one, what was it, South Bear?
South Bear. Yeah.
Do you anticipate that the cost is gonna go up?
They gave us a firm price,
Okay.
so we need to hold them to it.
Okay. All
The
right.
27th, you said they'll be moving into town. The
Yeah,
week you're
28,
back.
that Monday, 28.
28th.
Okay.
And they're gonna start on Notch, just so you're aware.
Know some property owners in the neighborhood, so that'll work good.
Oh, good, let them know.
Yep.
Yes.
Where are they gonna be stationed? Where are they?
Oh, yeah, where's their landing pad?
Most likely the shot.
Okay.
That's where they have stockpiles already.
So I know it's a there's some little bit of, I won't even go down that road. Is it worth at this point to our benefit to let them stage at the town pit, being there literally?
That is gonna be a
Football
question
throwaway.
I asked them if they wanna do, because
Yeah.
It's right nearby.
I
that's
feel
where
like that
they're-
would be, time-wise for us, is in our most best
Yeah.
interest.
Yeah, they got some stuff at our shop that they would have to move over there, but it's
And
minimal.
where are the other box culverts? Center?
Center Road and South Bear, so it's all that.
It's all near each
Two
other.
in center, yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's
One
all near
north
each
and
other.
one south
Yeah.
there.
Okay. Any other questions for Eric about the roads themselves or the equipment? Okay. And Zara, any FEMA non-updates?
Yeah, no, unfortunately, I don't have any movement in terms of the obligation. We have a new state rep, and so I've asked her, when is that money going to hit, and where is our state money to? We had a conversation about that 100,000 that got sent, and she was like, well, it's under 100,000. I'm like, great, you owe us so much more, so start adding it up and write the check, send it over. So,
But FEMA money? FEMA money or
From the
state money?
state.
Just
state money, right, because the 2.8 million is federal share.
Yeah, okay.
Then I want the state share too. We've gotten paid back on the state share 1.3 million, so we got 100,000. That's only 10% of.
The state share is 1.3 million.
No, what is, I haven't figured out the
Okay.
state share for either of the things, but I know it's more than 100,000.
Yeah,
Yes.
yes. But it better be 1%.
Which department does that come from in the state? Is there?
Public safety.
DHS, it's still
Public
Department of
safety.
Homeland Security, DHS.
Public safety.
Yeah,
That's what the top of the report says, public safety.
Partner Vermont.
Okay. Alrighty, well, thank you for those updates. Did we apply for the municipal highway grant? Okay, great, thank you. And then the annual financial plan for the town highways? Forget what that is.
We haven't finished that yet, but
Okay, but that's not due today, I don't
It's
know.
not due till the
it's
30th.
not that big of a deal.
Okay, but you'll get that done
Yep.
next week? Okay, do I need to ask that again next meeting, do you think? Is
If
it,
you want to.
if I want to, I can, but like, I guess I just want to make sure that it doesn't get,
No,
like,
it'll be done.
okay. Great,
Cheryl and I
okay.
just need to sit
Now
down
we're
and
on
do
to
it.
the summer hours
Yep.
of the road crew schedule. And why don't you explain to Stacy and Larry
Sure.
about this, so how this works?
So it's been set up that in the summer hours are 4 10-hour days, Monday through Thursday. And that's really kind of to help out. In the wintertime, we put so many hours in. I mean, we have basically almost need a cot at the shop. So with the extra day off during the week, we're still working our 40 hours. Just kind of gives us a little more work-life balance. And when I started 3 years ago, it was from the beginning of March to the end of October.
March?
May.
Man, I was gonna say, whoa.
Yes, no, March. The other, you know what it is, actually, I saw this March here.
Well,
May, the beginning of May to the end of October. Last year that was changed, but I really would prefer that I think it would be in the best interest of everybody if we bring it back to that.
what is it now, Eric?
They moved it to, was it
It was
June to September?
June 1st.
I think Labor Day.
Yeah, basically Memorial Day to Labor Day.
So it was
Okay.
the end of May
Yeah.
to, okay.
Actually, I don't even think it was Memorial Day. I think it was June 1st.
It was after
It was
Memorial
June
Day.
1st, right, because Memorial Day was earlier.
Yep.
And so basically what he's proposing is that we move it back to May 1st and do through September,
October.
through October.
That's what it was before.
Okay. Yep. Okay. And basically you get to work at what, like 6:30 in the morning and stay
You're done
till?
at 4:30.
Yeah.
And really, at the end of the day, you get more work done.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not cutting for lunch, you're not setting up, breaking down 5 days a week, you're only doing it 4 days a week, but you still have 40 hours.
Yeah. Yes, Sarah?
I just want to say in a positive way that I am all for it and why. Eric, I asked him, he's been here for 3 years, and he's been through 2 major floods, a winter that had 5 mud seasons, and I said, oh, well, you had one relatively
And
good
COVID
year.
too, didn't you?
COVID, but wait, there's more. The first winter he was here, we had those 5 or 6 days with no power.
Oh, right.
During December, or Christmas time.
So he didn't even have one relatively good year. So I'm all for giving these guys, they work hard, they have been out on Thanksgiving and every weekend it feels like this winter, and I'd love for them to have their 4 10-hour days from the beginning of May to the end of October.
And at the end of the day, it doesn't cost the town any more
Yeah,
money to
no.
do that.
Yes, Shelley.
The thing is, I remember.
Shelley Desjardins is making a comment.
A lot of
Stacy.
these conversations was as if you needed somebody, and they've always been there when we need them for the roads.
Yep.
So if something does come up, whether it be a flood or a storm,
Yeah.
Oh,
they're there
right.
from the end, they still take care of the residents.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not like we go on hiatus and
Right.
leave. It's,
Yeah. And if there's a snowstorm in July, you will plow on a Friday if
Nope.
it snows.
I am not plowing them dirt roads.
Maybe sand though.
Okay, any other comments or questions for Paul about the 40-hour, 10
Yeah.
4s, 4 10s? All right, is there?
One thing
yes.
I'll say, in the past, it's always been a comment of, well, if it rains 4 days a week and it's nice on Friday, well, what I would say to that is ask Eric how it worked out for plowing on the weekends, because even though he worked all 5 days during the week, he still had to plow all weekend. So weather is,
Yeah.
you can't predict it. And at the end of the day, there's more productivity. It's a fringe benefit that costs no one anything additional.
They've never let us down.
No, no.
Alrighty, is there a motion to approve the change to May 1st through October 31st, 4 10s?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, Zara makes that motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, I forget his name, Paul, the new guy. As a second. All those in favor of said motion say aye. Aye. The ayes have it. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And thank you guys for all
thank
your
you
work.
guys.
It really is appreciated. People, we cannot do it without you. That is the bottom line. We could not live here without you, so we really appreciate it. Okay, great. Fire department update. We're a little late. Sorry about that, Jeff.
I'm going to let Brendan do it.
Oh, great.
because I'm
Brendan is
teaching
taking
him
over the reins
what
of
to do.
the updates?
I'm learning.
You're learning. Great.
learning.
Good for you.
So total calls this year.
Wait, hold on. It's
21.
Brendan, and what's your last name again?
LaRue.
LaRue.
Lareau.
Lareau, Stacy.
And it's O-N. B-R-E-N-D-O-N.
Oh, Brandon.
Oh.
Okay. Brandon.
B-R-E-N-D.
No, Brendan. Brendon. Brendan.
I've had this conversation a lot in my life.
I bet you have.
So total calls this year is 21. Calls this period is 7. We have no mutual aid calls in or out. Our max member response this month is 10. Our minimum number response this month is 1, and our average member response is 5.7.
That's great.
Pretty good.
That's really good.
Engine 1 was out 5 times, Engine 6 and Tanker 1 were out 0 times, Rescue 1 was out once, Truck 14 nothing, and personal vehicles responded 2 times. We had a car fire that was unfounded. We had a river search and rescue that had 10 responders. We had a car versus truck northbound on 89. We had a northbound TT unit smoking, blown turbo, no smoke.
What's a TT?
Tractor trailer.
Tractor trailer unit.
Official terminology.
I never quite always understand Jeff's little, like CNX. Contacted CNX. Okay, go ahead, sorry.
We had a vehicle in ditch that we responded to. There was a fire on Lower Sunnybrook Road, but the owner extinguished it and just had people go out and check it out. And then we had a permitted burn that we responded to just to make sure. There were a total of 12 fast squad calls this period, 10 medical only calls. We did knots this week for training that was led by Jeff himself. Did a very good job. And we voted on a new member last month, so now we're up to 15 members.
Great.
Awesome.
So just as a reminder to folks watching, when I think about burns, I see these burns, permitted burns. Do we still contact Jason Merrill if we want to light a bonfire, like brush fire? Not a brush fire, but like a pile of brush fire.
Guys, Jason Merrill?
Do I contact I've always texted Jason Merrill to say, hey, I'm gonna light my brush fire. Is it okay? You know, if it's
Yes.
like questionable.
Jason
Still
is the
Jason.
person.
Okay. So Jason Merrill has, I don't know how, he must be in the book with his telephone number, so.
Well, he is in our
town
book.
report.
It's in the town report.
Yes, he is.
So, especially
And
now,
on the
it's
website.
still dry. It's not a good time to burn.
Yeah,
It's not a good time to burn until the grass is green. Okay,
gives us something to do.
alrighty.
So there was one thing that was
I
forgot to
put on
here that I probably should let you guys know. So I don't know if you remember in the news probably a month or so ago, was it Williston? Yes.
North Hero.
North Hero. It was North Hero. Had this piece of equipment added to their engine that when the lights turn on, it sends a signal to cars. And if you have like a Chrysler vehicle or if you have Apple CarPlay, a notification comes over your car saying emergency vehicle up ahead.
Oh.
And we ended up purchasing, well, it's a subscription, and we have that now in Engine 1. And hopefully that will help us on the interstate with near-death experiences. Yes.
Definitely. That probably pops up on Waze, Google Maps, everything.
Yep, it
That's
does.
intuitive, yeah.
It does on Waze, and Google owns Waze, but it isn't all the way connected, but it does come through
But they
Waze.
are working on that.
Awesome. That's huge.
So, yeah. So now that when we're on the interstate, people could say, oh, there's an accident scene coming up. Because there's a lot of times we've had accidents next to us.
I'm sure.
And it's like, that's not good.
No,
So-
people drive so fast when they shouldn't be.
Rubbernecking.
But anyway,
Is that the name?
Yeah, when you see an
yeah,
accident.
and that's $600 a year to have that.
Oh. So are you asking us to pay for that?
No, we already.
Oh, you already did, but with your own money, like you have your own, I mean, or is it?
No, right of our budget.
Oh,
Just
okay.
took it out of dues,
Oh, okay,
a
all
line item.
right. I mean, I only say that because you know how it is with, we don't even have a single penny of
Yeah.
discretionary left. so.
Well, I think unfortunately, we made the decision, I think that for the amount of money that
It's fine.
it would cost, it
Sounds like a
saves
good thing.
more in the long run.
And it might save someone's life.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what matters.
One accident would certainly wipe out the $600.
Yeah. I will also say that I told Lowry to join because he's up next about the soliciting bids for the new town website. But he said that things are moving quickly or well for the installation of the
Yeah, he's
fire
already
station.
contacted us about June.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we might be able to, because I think there's some element of the training of volunteers that's included in the price. I think we may be able to use that municipal, what was the name of that money that we didn't get? MERP. We got $4,000 or $5,000 from them for like outreach, you know, to encourage people to learn about energy efficiency, right? And I've already asked if we could use it to actually do the work, but we can't. It has to be more like educational stuff, but we may be able to use it to train the people. So that would be helpful. That will save us some dollars. I think Sam Lash said that we could do that, but I'll double check with Lowry. So anyway, that's moving along, so that's cool. Okay. Anything else for the great fire department and that excellent update, Brendan? Do you want to be the town clerk assistant?
You're hired.
I'm hired.
You're hired.
Not town clerk assistant, select board assistant.
Sorry, I got no plate.
I think that's gonna happen. He's gonna use it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and the emergency management coordinator, you're thinking
Oh
about
yeah,
that?
that's me, huh?
Well, it could be. I know you're really busy right now. You're doing the EMT training and all that, yeah.
Yeah. I pretty much, I postponed it till after that. Anything I would be doing would be after the EMT class.
Okay, yeah, right. So, yeah, and I think that would be a great fit. I don't believe you have to be a citizen of the town to do that.
I don't believe so. He's already an
and-
employee.
So one thing quick on the EMT training, we got 4 people in the
Yeah, I was
class.
just getting ready to say that.
And it's free training.
Yeah.
Which is a $1,400 class.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're
4
able to
people.
snack.
That's really good. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
It's exciting.
We just have to
When's
get
the
them all.
class?
It starts the
The emergency medical technician class.
Okay.
It starts on the 23rd.
Is that something, do you want me to advertise that on the Front Porch Forum?
No.
Okay.
It's only for,
In fact, we had one that we wanted to get in and we couldn't.
Okay.
and I think it's only for the volunteer firefighters, right? You have to be on the crew.
You have to be part of a service in order.
Yeah, yeah.
Who was that through?
The state's paying for it.
It's a grant that the district EMS got, that they're using to pay for
It is.
EMT training.
Yeah, that's
It is,
great.
because when I did mine, it was $1,400.
It's a commitment,
Wow.
but you guys are doing good.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's great.
And so in the meantime, if there's an emergency, I'm in charge.
No matter what, you're in charge because you're in that position.
You're the director.
Yep.
It's really scary, you guys.
No, because you have a good team of people.
All you
Exactly.
need to do is delegate.
Yep, delegate. I have my copy of the emergency management plan though, that I'll refer
You just
to. I'll
need the
flip through
checkbook
it
and
from
the
my
pen, you'll be all
house.
set.
Michelle Johnston, I will say this, we're not going to need it because there aren't going to be any more floods or emergencies.
Oh, perfect.
Or anything like that.
Yay, no
I am
emergencies.
gonna.
Not at all.
Thank you for coming, fire department. We appreciate it. We appreciate all you do to protect our community.
Thank you.
Okay, so Lowry Sharp is in the waiting room. Do you want to let him in? Do you know how to do that?
I think I got
You guys, we might be leaving early today.
It's like, yeah.
Okay. Hi, Lowry, you are up next. On the agenda, it is to request to re-solicit bids for the new town website. Can you hear us okay? Here you go. Okay. So just tell us.
Shall I go?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, thanks. As you might recall, last year, Sarah Merriman worked on releasing a request for proposals from vendors who would redesign and redo the town website. And so there are a few of those responses that came in, but then that project didn't continue, I think just for lack of time. And so now the Town Meeting Solutions Committee that Susan Clark spearheads is proposing to pick it up again and reissue the RFP and then basically help to move that project along and do as much of the work as possible. And luckily, a new volunteer has also stepped forward. Elaine recently moved to Middlesex, and she's excited to help out with this project. She has relevant experience professionally. So we would keep the workload on Cheryl to a minimum related to this. And I think also Sarah had identified a couple of other new potential vendors that cost less than what was originally envisioned last summer. So that's good news too. So all this to bring the website into the modern age and make it compliant with accessibility requirements. So we're just basically asking you to say, yes, please go ahead and reissue the RFP to area website developers and particularly to hosts of municipal websites.
Okay, and it was 10,000 that we budgeted?
Yes.
I think that's what we
Yep.
budgeted. And Stacy, do you think that this has any, if we budgeted 10,000 and that's our budget essentially, do you think there's anything that we need to consider with your proposal? I don't think so. Your purchasing.
No, it was over 25.
I mean, it's not it kind of like, it depends. An updated purchasing policy could be more specific about like the RFP process, but I would say, for purposes of discussing the issue today, we should just go off of the purchasing policy currently in effect, which as far as I can tell, doesn't require any or specify any RFP process. Like it's silent. So I would assume like just go forth and set the website on fire, or whatever you want to call it. So that's a really long answer. The short answer is just, I don't think there's any constraints to this current proposal based on what we have, and to the extent that what we may pass in the future, affects it, it wouldn't be retroactively. Like, we may need to keep communicating if we decide at some point that, maybe if the bids come in like a lot more than what we would authorize, or, within the threshold that the select board maybe decides we need to approve formally, then so be it. But at this point, just soliciting that information, there's no issues that I can see. And there's no real crossover with what I'm going to be talking about.
Perfect. Okay, so do you think we need a motion? Let's just do one.
I'll make a motion that we go ahead and send out those RFPs.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, I'll second. All those in favor of sending out the RFP, say aye. Aye. Okay, the ayes have it. Everyone said aye. Okay, thanks, Lowry.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, bye. Okay,
Bye-bye.
so now we are on to reviewing and updating the Middlesex purchasing policy, and Stacy's going to take the lead on that discussion, and she sent us the information that we all have here, which is our current purchasing policy and then the VLCT model purchasing policy. So if you want to take it away, Stacy, that would be great.
You're on mute.
I don't think she's talking.
All right. I think I did it.
Yeah.
Wait, which screen am I sharing? Notes? Wrong.
The VLCT model, and both.
Do you guys see the agenda or the purchasing policy?
We see our purchasing policy and VLCT's model purchasing policy. We see both.
Okay, cool. So I picked the right screen. Okay, so the nutshell is that we have a purchasing policy. It's vintage from 2015. Good thing though is that there haven't been there's a number of opportunities that we have in adopting an updating our purchasing policy, that I think given this size of the proposal, this may be a conversation that we have. it may need to take a couple meetings to talk about. I don't know. There have been some, like plenty of towns adopt the VLCT model policy pretty much verbatim. I poked around a little bit to see like what, what some neighboring towns' purchasing policies look like, and a lot of them are just very similar. When I asked VLCT about the purchasing policy template, she did note that they are working on an update because there have been some changes recently. But last I checked, which I think was like yesterday, they had not, like they haven't released an updated purchasing policy template. Sorry for the sniffles. Yeah, I guess so. Like, I kind of, having never done this before, I will, welcome input on how we, as a group, discuss the contents of the purchasing policy, and how we want to go about, coming to an agreement or consensus on what our purchasing policy should and should not include. So, I think in terms of the first, I thought I would just kind of go like paragraph by paragraph. I think I've got like 10 or 15 minutes allocated, so we can just kind of see how much we get done and then keep going. We can bring it up the next time. That's my thought.
That sounds
Okay. So the purpose section, I think it's fine. If anything, actually, I'm pretty sure it mimics the purchasing policy. The purpose of the policy is verbatim of the VLCT model. So I don't think we have much to discuss there. The big thing, or just one of the things that the model policy does include that our purchasing policy does not, is the affirmative action and local preference. So hold on, let me pull this up here. So this is kind of like the DEI language that probably prior to January 16th or whenever was required for any federally funded spends. But, I guess like, I don't know, that may be one of the things that they're changing because federal government no longer, endorses or requires any DEI, but it's still something that we may want to consider having, and I would personally support the language here, just like whenever possible, qualified small minority and women-owned businesses should be included in the solicitation lists for bids, non-bidders. If the purchase is federally funded, minority and women-owned businesses must be included, and all other affirmative action requirements outlined in the grant provisions must be followed. So again, like, I don't necessarily think this is relevant anymore, but that is what it is. The municipality may exercise a preference for local businesses. So this basically just gives us, it confers the authority on the select board and whomever has the authority to say, oh yeah, like, even if a local business charges more, we would prefer to support like a Vermont contractor versus like an out-of-state contractor, or even like a local, like if there was someone in Washington County and maybe they cost a little bit more than someone from Chittenden, but we want to keep our business as local as possible. Like, that's what that is. So we can have that guidance or not. I'm just gonna drop in. So I liked the language in East Montpelier, which I'll just bold it. So this was what East Montpelier had. It's not as wordy, and I like that because I think sometimes like in a lot of instances, less can be more, especially in like a policy. So we're not, I don't know, you just don't have to say so much. So this would be my recommended language. Whenever possible, qualified small minority and women-owned businesses shall be included in the solicitation lists for bids or non-bid purchases, and the town may exercise a preference for local businesses for purchases subject to the policy. But only if such preference does not result in unreasonable prices or rates due to a lack of competition. So that's a little bit different. but actually it's the same. No, I take that back. It's the same language here. So they trimmed it a little bit. And that's, to me, this is like what really matters. So that would be my recommendation.
So they took out the whole federal piece.
They did.
They don't even.
They did.
Yeah, I would probably go for that as well. I mean, I think my only, I can see the federal government saying, send us a copy of your model purchasing policy,
Yeah,
right?
I was just gonna
Yeah.
say, and I am a sociology major with a degree in gender studies. This kills me, but I don't want to put any DEI in until we get our money back from the feds.
Dear God. So would you
Yeah.
suggest we not have this language at all?
I like the
The-
local
I would suggest that we plan to and put it in the minute that we are paid back by the feds. Like, I think we should have it, Stacy. I just don't know that it's going to benefit us in this administration.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's why it's kind of like, it's an uncomfortable truth.
Because as a matter of fact, like the policy that I gave to Larry, Stacy, last year when I was looking at it, I was like, there's no DEI. Everything says him, there's no women, I mean, that was my whole point with that.
I noticed that too.
So, yeah, I'm pro it. I'm just really concerned with this administration that, ICE will come and take us all away if we put it in.
I know, and it's not out of the realm of possibility, frankly, for people to get arrested.
So,
I think my biggest concern would be having verbiage in there that would disqualify us
Disqualify us,
in
yes.
any sort of fashion from
Being
any
a-
funding we may be eligible for.
Yes,
grants
I
we can
agree.
apply for,
Yeah.
or anything, yeah, in general.
Can we leave the local piece in?
I like the local
I don't
piece.
see why.
I like it all, don't get me wrong. I just.
Yeah, no, I do too.
But yeah, we can share your concern.
I would just, maybe we just, just say, whenever possible, locally owned businesses shall be included in the solicitation list for bids and non-bid purchases. I mean, we already are doing that.
Right.
And then take out the part about the federally funded.
Affirmative action,
Yeah,
minority and women-owned businesses.
So
What do you-
that's all.
here. It says here, for purchases funded in whole or in part with federal funding, the municipality may not exercise a preference for local businesses. It says that, so that must be a rule, that must be a federal rule. So you have to open it to everyone, which makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of our money is not federal, a lot of it's just us.
Mhm. So this would be then, like, well, our preference is locally owned shall be included in the solicitation, and we can exercise a preference as long as it doesn't result in the unreasonable prices. Do we want to keep this language then, since our focus is on locally owned?
That you probably have to.
Yeah, probably.
Action and keep local preference.
Yeah, just get out the affirmative action piece.
Okay.
I know, it's
Um,
terrible. I can't believe I'm saying that either.
All right, so this would be so we would say, we would probably then, we do this as just like local preference. Boop, boop, and then this is what it would look like. Boop. Sorry about the boops, can't help myself. Okay, all right, cool, look at that, 2 paragraphs down, only like 20 more to go. But it's good. These are conversations that clearly some, have been deferred for quite a while. So it's just, this is really important, even if we, well, it's important, but also with like the caveat that we do not have a big, a humongous budget. We do not necessarily entertain humongous projects, but it's still, very beneficial to bring all of this into modernity, and just be aware of like especially in light of thinking about like wage bands and some spends and purchases coming up, like this is good. Okay, next one is code of conduct. So the code of conduct, this provision, we have, we have a code of conduct already in the current one. I don't really think, I was gonna say, I don't believe there's many major changes that we need to make to it. If we had, like, some towns reference, some towns have passed a conflict of interest ordinance. We have not. But that's obviously like in the future, if we did pass a conflict of interest ordinance that spells out when and under what circumstances a conflict of interest might exist, then we could reference that here and like really trim this down. But for the moment, I believe the language in our current policy very much mirrors the model policy, if just a little bit, it's a little bit more streamlined. Let me see if I can tidy that up a bit. Will not solicit, so has this, like, we have this language down here. We have this language pretty much down here. Must disclose their interest. We do not require at this point anyone with a conflict of interest to disclose within the context of a duly warned meeting, like it would be a select board meeting before the bid takes place. This is something that like they have that we don't have. I know, like, and I'm not sure, I should say, I assume we need it. Like we should have it because the conflict of interest and ethics rules have changed a lot. But if anyone's concerned about having model language in there about disclosing a conflict of interest, like, let me know. Now's a good time to say so, because we don't currently require, the code of conduct doesn't currently require you to say you have conflict, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had that type of thing before. The only thing I could think of is more like personnel type of things that might have shown a conflict of interest when family members may have been applying for certain positions. Have we ever, in my memory,
in place.
yeah, I don't remember us having something like this in recent
Well, I think it's
history.
almost like, you know, if let's say, you wanted to bid
Yeah. I was
on
thinking the same
something.
thing. Yeah,
Right,
oh,
but-
absolutely. Basically recuse myself
Right.
from the vote and, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good example. Like if we were entertaining excavation bids, then Paul and, you know, Paul's company was among the contractors that had submitted a bid, Paul would need to disclose that he might have that he has an interest in that proposal or that bid. You know, and then, yeah,
Accuse himself, his company could still bid,
Right.
but he would not be a part
he
of
can't
the-
authorize it.
But I will say, this is all covered and we're all required as municipal, employees, not employees, but yeah, whatever, municipal people, to take the ethics training. I think it's due by like the end of June or something like that.
Yes, speaking of that, I'm gonna have to forward that to you, but it's a 45-minute training and you have 120 days from the time you were elected.
Yep.
So.
Is it too late to?
It's too late.
No, but you can put it on 1.5 and it goes through really quickly.
Yeah, it's
But
definitely.
here's the other, I have to keep
That's how I
going
listen
back.
to my audiobooks.
If I leave the room, it cancels. Like, oh, I have to like go do something. And so I have to restart the whole thing because I can't get to the end. Like, it doesn't give you enough time to get to the end if you want to pause it. It doesn't let you do that.
And
So
there is a test.
be forewarned. There is a test, but isn't the test just?
Yeah.
Isn't it just in your head? You just say the things? or-
No, you have to plug
You
in.
have to plug in, okay. Yeah, I never
But then
got to
they're
the.
like, oh, you're wrong, pick another.
Oh, okay, yeah. So anyway, but that does address all this kind of stuff.
Cliff notes.
So I would go with the more up-to-date, Stacy, about the code of ethics.
I would,
Okay.
I wholeheartedly endorse that based on our recent, the training that Larry and I went to also talked about like conflict of interest and basically the new ethics law that they passed. I think this might be, well, maybe they're updating it to bring it in conformance, but either way, like Okay, great. So we would keep this. This would be a duly warned select board meeting. Do we need whether such disclosure has to be documented in the minutes? I guess like that seems kind of stupid to put sorry, it seems silly to say that because you already have to document what happens in the meeting in the minutes under like Vermont law. I would take this out because it's just like redundant. But if you want to keep it in, we can. I don't know.
I'd probably keep it in because sometimes it's hard to capture everything in a meeting in the minutes.
Yep.
So I would,
All right.
that way we can go back and someone says, that wasn't in the minutes.
Yeah, especially if we're talking a big project, with multiple
Yeah.
vendors.
Right.
You know, giving bids.
Okay.
And I
Perfect.
apologize. You guys are ahead of this, but we have a purchase authorization in our version, whereas VLCT doesn't. Did you cover that already, Stacy?
This one, yeah, it's the purchase of, it's like, it comes up. We do. No purchases over $10,000 should be made without prior approval of the select board. So we currently have a $10,000,
A new one.
Oh, I
It's
see.
later on.
Okay, I just was like, are we keeping this, not keeping this? Sorry about that. Sorry.
That's okay. We'll get there. There's one, so this, hold on a second. So the next template criteria, I guess you could say, is the documentation. I noticed like a number of other towns did not add this. Records documenting. I don't know how big this is. I can make it bigger though. So we don't have any documentation requirements specifically as far as I know. There's criteria. Sorry, I'm scrolling and giving you guys seasick. Yeah, there's no documentation requirement in our current purchasing policy. This one simply requires that that there be documentation for any minor or major purchases, which we can decide the threshold for those purchases. We could also decide that like minor purchases don't need to be, maybe they have different documentation requirements. Including reasons for the so documenting a purchase would include the reason for that procurement method, the basis for the award, contract pricing, basically justifying every purchase maintained for a period of at least 3 years. Seems like, oh, the minor major, this is for federal funds. Which makes sense. The federal government is super nitpicky on their excuse me, documentation requirements. So even though, some towns have decided not to specify this, accordance with the other, I don't know. I mean, this is kind of like,
Are you saying you want to hold the documentation altogether, or no, let's just leave it as the new.
We can leave it. That's fine. It's a bit cumbersome, and just should be like, but maybe not necessarily in a bad way, but just some towns haven't adopted this language. Some neighboring towns haven't, and some have.
We had to prove who they took the bids from and had all the documentation.
yeah.
There had to be an Excel spreadsheet on how people were graded, everything else. So it was.
On the bids for.
Yeah, on the bids.
Yes.
So that was a very
Yeah.
major part of it. And the FEMA will ask for that eventually.
Okay. I would just keep the documentation piece.
Sure. Okay. So purchasing authority. So this is kind of like we're getting back into what we already have in terms of the purchase authorization. So what the purchasing authority, so purchasing agents is where we can delegate or authorize specific individuals or positions to have purchasing authority that, would not require prior select board approval. So in this case, like we could designate like Cheryl to be our purchasing agent, since she's, like whatever, or so, whomever, Liz could be, or like the select board chair could be designated as a purchasing agent. You can pick whoever you want. Sometimes they might pick, sometimes they might pick like a town manager if they have one. It really depends on, the needs of the town and kind of the scope of the purchasing that's done. So basically, just let's see here. I had some notes on this. Just kidding, I didn't have notes on this.
So-
But we,
Like, I can imagine, so here's, I'm just thinking.
Yep.
You've got Eric, who's gonna be making purchases. You've got maybe one of his road crews gonna be making purchases, right? I gotta go down to.
They go to Eric for everything.
Yeah, Eric.
Even like they came in here the other day, they needed some shovels.
Yep.
And they get approval from him before they went and bought the shovels.
Okay, but they can still buy it, but he approves it.
Yeah, so Eric would be the purchasing agent.
Okay, that's what I'm asking.
$600
Yeah.
thing for the emergency.
So I would say the road foreman, the select board chair, the town clerk,
Or how, make it town treasurer,
or town treasurer.
Town treasurer.
Yeah, town treasurer.
and that's it.
Yeah, I think so.
so then, so these guys, so these are the folks that have, purchasing
Oh, wait, hold on.
authority.
I would also add fire, chief.
Fire chief.
Fire chief.
Well, I'm just saying, there's some things that we have to sign as listers in order.
That's just, I've already seen that deal and I just give it to you. I just
So
want to say,
she's the
okay,
approval.
today.
Authorization.
Yeah,
the
okay.
treasurer.
Now,
Okay.
this wouldn't cover emergency type of situations where they take the flooding situations.
Yeah.
And we've got contractors that are just been deployed.
Yeah,
and
That's actually in here.
It is?
It's
Okay.
part of it somewhere down here.
Okay.
but I
and there's
saw it.
also in our emergency management plan, there is
Emergency
that
purchase.
sort of discussion about like
Last page.
we could, I think we put something like $1,400 could just be spent on whatever you need right then and there.
Yeah.
But then if you needed to do that, you would still need to come to, someone for approval, and that approval might be the fourth, right?
Right,
Okay,
So,
excellent.
likely truly, because it would
Right.
be Eric or you as the emergency
Right.
management or the treasurer saying, okay, I'll write a check.
right.
Okay.
I wonder if we do want to put emergency management coordinator. No. Yeah, who cares?
Just in case.
Just in case. Yeah, just in case.
I mean, you can, like, it can be whatever we want it to
Yeah.
be. There's really very little, like, in terms of like Vermont specific, like Vermont, the governance of Vermont municipalities is such that like we have like all the discretion in how these purchasing policies are made, like subject to some very fundamental, like basic requirements, things like retaining records and, not violating any laws or conflicts. So, okay. So let's say if we run with this, now we have this like, and I'd say this should be the last section, and then we'll move on to like the next segment of the meeting. And we may need to revisit this too, or we can pick this up. So the next is just basically, whereas the current town policy just delineates, it's like a really flat line, like anything over 10,000 has to have prior approval of the select board, and anything of $25,000 or more, and anything supported by federal funds has to be subject to a bid process. It's super simple, and we may decide that makes the most sense for most of our expenditures. This model policy offers more nuance. For example, the incidental purchases, employees who have been designated to act as purchasing agents can make purchases up to the incidental dollar amount without any prior approval, provided that those are, still limited within the amount of the budget authorized. So like that's, I think, let's see here. So that could be, in the category, like, that could be up to like $2,000. That could be like $500. Because then you have the next level is the minor purchases. in the federal parlance, I guess, whatever, federal lingo, they have 3 levels. Micro is $10,000 or less, or $2,000 or less if it's a specific kind of like construction subject to Davis-Bacon requirements. I don't know what those are, but okay. Small purchase is considered 10,000 to 250,000. Or anything over 2,000 if it's construction, and a large purchase is $250,000 and up. So that, it's really on us and to decide what's incidental, what might be minor, what might be major. Yeah, so limited to the amount. So in this case, like if it was a minor purchase, like let's say that's anything between like $500 and $10,000, then maybe that's requires prior approval. Or maybe if incidentals, in this case, the current policy says kind of puts incidentals at anything less than 10,000, then minor purchases could be like 10,000 up to 250,000, which would still require prior approval and within the constraints of the budget. And it wouldn't require bidding, it would be recommended, so there's some guidance there. Like for a bigger spend, we should be getting at least 2 quotes. And then major purchases, which, I think the consensus could be like $250,000 or more, would be subject to the most rigorous like scrutiny and vendor requirements. And then there's a separate, here's the Davis-Bacon. I don't know what those are, but here's this language is necessary, which basically splits like the purchasing authority of incidental, minor, and major purchases really only applies to like municipal purchases, not federally funded purchases. Whereas if there's federal funding, we don't get to really decide that. Like the federal government dictates the bidding requirements for whether it's a micro, small, or large category.
So can I just make a comment? I feel like this is a lot to absorb right now. Is this whole piece around the dollar values. I mean, I would almost say an incidental purchase is anything up to 10,000, because it says provided those purchases are limited to the amount of the budget authorized municipalities. So like, I don't want to have for every time you want to do office supplies, if it's over like buy a computer, that we have to.
Usually an incidental, just from other places I've worked, would be 5,000. And then like a minor purchase would be 5,001 plus to this amount. And then the next major purchase would be it would pick up from the highest amount from the first paragraph. You know what I mean?
But what do you usually, but what's your highest spend if you're buying office supplies and stuff?
If I'm buying an office, right now, toner cartridges are like $125 a piece, and every one of them need 4 every single time you buy them, so.
Right, I'm just wondering, I'm wondering if like a 210, 25, I think $250,000 is extreme since our whole budget
We
is a
wouldn't do that
million
anyway.
or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm at the mark where it goes to the capital.
Well, and also what has to go to the voters.
Right, and also the minor purchases, I mean, that's kind of like things like, if Eric's trucks break down and he's out there and they're telling him it's $15,000, he needs to be able to make the decision that, please fix the truck.
Well, he would be one of the people listed on.
Right, but even
Right,
still.
but he has to have, to know which step he has to take.
Well, what does he do now? I mean, what do you guys do with it?
You don't have a choice.
You just
You
do
gotta
it?
fix it.
You can just do
I've
it.
come to the board before with motor replacement, which could be upwards of $50,000-$60,000. We all balk at it, and at the end of it, we're like, to
Yeah.
fix it, it's no good as it sits, and that ultimately would soak up the budget, and we figure it out from there. That's historically how it goes.
I mean, my feeling is that if we've identified who the purchasing agents are and it's been approved in the budget, they don't need permission.
No, it's already been approved.
It's already been approved, right? And so I think what we're really talking about are more of the major purchases.
Which I feel like then, that's why the budget committee has that capital.
Right.
blah, But what is that, 50 or 60? I'm trying to think of what that, whatever that number is, that's what that should be, that major purchase, whether it's 50 or 60 or whatever cap it is.
Right.
That we do for the.
Right, and is there anything in here, Stacy, and we don't have to talk about it any too much more tonight, but is there anything in here about, because I thought by law, depending on the amount, it has to go to the voters anyway, and I thought it was 250,000 or 200,000, like the grader, right? We had to get that permission from the voters because of the expense of it.
Because they had this in their model thing, that's probably, you're probably right, it's probably is the 250,000, because they
Everything goes up to 250.
Yeah, so that's
Okay.
probably where they got that from.
Yeah.
I will check, because that's like the competitive propose, like, that's the bidding process here, and, you know, for a really large, like, a large expense. So I will check on that. That's probably a good point to pick up for the next time, because I can check and see what the law says about when voters have to approve an expense, and whether it's like, if it's already been budgeted, do we still need to, you know, if the bids are coming in within budget, then, you know, does it fit within the parameters of the incidental, minor, major, or does it does it trigger the like grand bidding process, which has like its own ta-da?
Right.
So I will check. That's a good
Thank you
question.
for
And
your leadership
yeah.
on this.
Yeah.
Very much
Find
appreciated.
out where the capital. blah, blah,
Yes,
blah,
that
where
would be
cutoff
helpful.
is.
Okay, great. So we will revisit this. I'll put, so I'm just thinking about next, meeting, which actually isn't for 3 weeks because we have an extra week, because we had the first of the month was the first Tuesday.
Yes.
So we have 3 weeks between meetings. Woohoo! So we can add this as a continuation of the process. Purchase process.
For May 6th.
For May 6th. Okay. So, Development Review Board appointments of Stacy and Peter Raymond, action likely. Is there a nomination to reappoint Stacy Scatberg? Is there?
I would make that motion.
Okay, there's a motion from Larry. Is there a
I'll
second?
second.
Okay, Zara seconds. All those in favor of reappointing Stacy Scatberg, say aye.
Aye.
Congratulations, Stacy. And then how about Peter Raymond? Is there a motion to reappoint Peter Raymond to the Development Review Board?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, how about you second it? Okay, so Paul seconded it and Larry moved it. Is there all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, congratulations, Peter Raymond. Okay, treasurer's report. Did you want to tell us a little bit about the bond again?
Yep, I got today a loan commitment letter
Okay.
this afternoon, and it came from Keith Roberts and Ken Lange.
Yeah.
Loan amount, we were approved it for $2.3 million. Loan proceeds will be used for paying off prior current expenses notes, particularly paying off the current expense note and reimbursement of direct expenses subject to review of the requisitions and related banking instructions. So that has to do with that contract, that $1.2 million that you guys needed for the contract, or whatever it was. They've offered us a 1.3% for the emergency response, and then a 1.3 to 3.5% for the capital projects. And part of that is...
Wait, can you say that again? What for the emergency response?
1.3%.
And then what's the capital projects?
It's doing the new
box
work,
culverts.
the contract, the new work for that. But
Because emergency work, it's such a trigger word with FEMA. Okay.
1 year for current expense notes, and then 7 years of deferred principal. There's potential for forgiveness on this loan. So,
Well, at any rate, we're going to sign this document tonight, the loan
Yes.
document, and that will allow us to spend the money on the paying off some of our current notes. So do they mean their note or like the
Community bank.
Community bank. So paying down community bank and then using what we need for the box culverts. That's what we're going to use to pay Dirt Tech. Is this bond? So, is that something I need to sign, or you sign as treasurer?
I can sign.
Do we need to authorize that?
you could authorize it anyway, but I will sign it
Yeah.
if you want.
So is there
I'll
a
sign all the
motion
rest of it.
to authorize Cheryl to sign the loan note for $2.3 million from the Vermont Bond Bank?
I'll make that motion.
All righty, and is there a second?
I will second.
And Paul seconds it. So all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, thank you for dealing with that. Okay, so we have the orders.
Hey,
Yep.
quick question.
Yep.
What was the interest rate for the capital expenses?
1.3% to 3.5%.
1.3 to 3.5.
For capital expenditures?
For capital projects, yes.
Capital
Capital
projects.
projects, okay. Thank you.
Yep. So we have our orders that we need to go through, and Paul, we can refresh you on those as well. And then, but then we also, I wanted to, Stacy, I want you to share that Stacy sent out an email looking for volunteers to help with the flood, the people in the buyouts, and she received 3 interests from 2 of the people I know. I forget who the third person was, but they all seem competent to be able to assist. So Stacy, do you want to just kind of give your thoughts on that? And then I want to hear from Cheryl as to like how Cheryl's feeling about the workload and if it would be helpful to you.
So, 3 folks emailed me about the volunteer opportunity to support property owners in the FEMA buyout process. A lot of them, the primary concern was just like, how many hours is this going to take? What is this actually going to entail? Or pretty like light on specifics because nobody really knows. That's, yeah. And I think like since we've got 3 folks that were like, that are interested, I'd say like 2 seemed more open to the commitment. The third seemed like kind of non-committal, like, well, if nobody else is, I can help. But it would be, like, we've got people, like we've got some resources, we've got folks that are willing to give some, an hour or 2 of their time. I don't think any of them fit the VEM idealized person of like a retired individual, like a retiree who has like a lot of flexibility and time. So this may be one of those, like they'll be able to give as much as they can, but it might not necessarily be all that VEM has like imagined. Not sure. Just basically I believe everyone said that they do have full-time jobs, but they also can volunteer, a small amount of time each week.
And I think they have flexible enough jobs that they could meet like in the middle of the day. They just would have to know in advance.
Yeah.
So Cheryl, I wanted to get your feeling because this is what I don't want to have happen. I don't want someone to volunteer and then they have nothing to do, or that it's feeling like it's like they're stepping on Cheryl's toes, or that duplications of stuff is being done.
So I have actually made folders for everybody that's on the buyout list. I have organized one big folder for just buyouts, period, with all the other documentation. And now that they've kind of limited themselves on sending duplicate emails from 5 or 6 different people at one time to all my emails, it's kind of slowed down a little bit.
Okay.
Like one guy came in today, and it's a matter of, like sometimes people might call up and say, I need those documents printed for me. Can you print them and I'll come in and sign them? And they come in and sign them, and we just need a witness here. And then I scan them and email them over. It's not really it hasn't been that much work right now. The organizing everything at the beginning was a little bit of work, but the things that they keep asking for, the property tax bills, lister cards, I've already I printed all of them for everybody that's on the buyout list and stuck them in the folder. So as they come along, it's going to already be there to do that.
And you haven't felt overwhelmed, like getting back to the client, to the homeowner?
The only thing that was a little overwhelming was that one piece of property where it was, oh, send this, oh, don't send this, oh, now send this, oh, well, we're going to change it. Now we're not doing it that way, let's do it this way. And that was a little overwhelming, but.
And that's what I feel about this job is that, and maybe that's why they said something about like a volunteer who could just like come in here and maybe help you out, and that might not be the case for these volunteers.
Well, and it depends too on like the stuff that they need. Sometimes it's almost easier just to do it yourself than have to deal with training somebody and then having somebody not follow through, or, you know, not putting things where you want, because everybody don't exactly know what the auditor's going to be looking for and people like that. And, you know, and I don't want to have to be looking for things.
Well, and I will say, from my own experience, I'm getting these same emails that she is, and I'm like, is she doing it? I think she is, right? Like, I don't want to, like, I would like one person to be in charge and that one person to say, Liz, I need help.
I would do that. Yeah, I mean, because so far I've just been doing it, you know. Anything that comes, I've been addressing every email just as soon as they come in. And
so Stacy, what I might say is that maybe for now we continue with Cheryl just doing it, and if Cheryl starts to feel like she's overwhelmed by it.
Because right now we're just in the first stages, so I don't know what the rest of the stages are going to go through, but right now it's just them signing those 3 things. So, you know, there's no duplication of benefits, the FEMA, you know, that they agree for the FEMA buyout, and that they have their appraisal, and that they sign those 2 documents. I sign it as being the authorized person, you know, for the town that we're doing the buyout. And then that's it, you know what I mean? And then I scan it to them. They don't even want the originals back, which I thought they would want the originals, but they told me just to scan them those and me hold on to the originals. So.
Okay.
And like I said, it's in, you know, I have that little basket set up, so on the back of it, it says FEMA buyouts, and every single property owner has got their own folder.
Okay.
And if there's any issues with an email or something, I stick a copy of that in there just in case I don't have to keep reminding myself of what went wrong or what happened.
So I guess my question to you now is, do you want someone to help you?
I don't think so at this point.
So I don't think that either one of those candidates, I don't know the third, but the ones that I said to you, Stacy, they will not be any sad or anything like that. They just offered to help, and they will be fine with not helping. Yes.
But shouldn't those names go to Cheryl so that when she needs the help, she can call on them?
All right, that would be good.
Yeah, so I think, but Stacy's been communicating with them, so I don't think both of them, I don't think all 3 of them do. So Stacy, I think you could just throw it out to them and say, can you be a backup in case Cheryl needs it? And they'll probably both say yes.
And then just CC Cheryl so she's got their emails.
And both of them, the 2 people I know of the 3 are highly competent and organized and would be helpful if you needed help.
Right. I think right now it would just be something they'd come in here for. It takes, 5 minutes to print a piece of paper and hand it to somebody and sign them. It's not worth somebody driving down here for that.
Yeah, it's more work for you to try to coordinate it than it would be to what you're doing yourself.
Yeah, it's not taking a lot.
Okay. So thank you, though, Stacy, for reaching out to people, and we may need them if the next stages seem to be a lot more laborious. So Stacy,
yeah, I mean, I think we don't want to fast track you to burnout in like your first 3 months of being town clerk. So
it's nothing.
Even if it ends up requiring, it's just like, if I can help train folks, like if you don't want to talk to a new person, like I can do that. We just want to make sure that we don't turn away good help when it's
no. And that's if it was more complicated than it was, I'd probably say yes, let's go for it. But it's pretty simple and straightforward. It's nothing. I mean, I'm told that it could take 60 to 90 days for the rest of the work anyway before they close. So if that's the case, then we might need something then. All right.
So gang, if you would also don't mind holding on to your own purchasing policies and bringing them back with you. Okay, so is there anything else on the agenda? Any other matters that come before the board?
Oh, I have one, just a small one.
Yep.
The camper got moved. Yep. The guy wanted to leave it there a little longer to do renovations to it. And I told him that was unacceptable. he took it out, and Eric is going to put a sign there that says no overnight parking, and if vehicles are towed, it's your responsibility, because we were.
That's our property, right? It's not just.
Yeah, and we were really afraid that they were going to take everything out and leave it there, so.
Oh, okay, great. I think his family lives in this town, so maybe they just moved it there.
They're,
Okay, Shelley?
Quick question, they were talking about bids going out for our website. Whoever gets that bid, are they gonna work like with either Cheryl or even us?
Yes.
Because I know Kevin Thompson said, I think it's East Montpelier has Lister cards. They have everything right there, so they don't have to bother the town clerk.
Yeah, so I think the process is actually working with the town employees to see how, what's needed, and so yes, that's a good point, that will be included in the process, that whoever is the website designer is working with the town people.
And I mentioned this to Sam earlier, but I would love it if you and Sam and Cheryl and I and Mark from the Budget Committee and Larry, right, because you want to, for the policy.
With personnel policy.
Just getting together and just telling us what the town needs. Like, Sam was saying another monitor would be great. You're talking about Lister cards, stuff like that. Like, if we're going to give all that money to the library, let's make sure the town can make color copies without freaking out.
with Zara, it's already in the budget, and we're at a point where I've got to have my new computer.
Yeah.
Like right away.
Yeah, she can just order that. We shouldn't need approval for that.
Yeah, so.
No, but I'm saying just talking with these guys about what else we need, what else the town needs,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've got to do that sooner than later, and they need one as well, and it's in the
we can
budget
put it
already.
in the budget for next year.
Yay!
It's already- But this is already in the budget, those two are in there.
Yes, no,
so.
go for it. Anything that's budgeted.
And I'd like to find out about migrating up to the 365 so we don't have to do the server. And RB Tech said the last time that we took it upon ourselves to order our own computer.
Yeah.
It was a nightmare. It cost them, we ended up costing the town more money by doing that.
Well, and this is the thing, I'm concerned. Like today I got an email from Susan Clark saying, hey, Zara, are you there? I just want to make sure you got this email. And I was like,
Yeah, it wasn't her.
and I said, yes, I'm here. What do you need?
no.
And she said, oh, well, I want to treat the staff and get them Amazon gift cards. And I was like, well, I just read in the ethics committee, I'm voted in, so I can't have any gifts, so this can't be right. And I emailed her an email address, and this has happened with Sarah, with the clerk. So anyway, what I'm saying is, all of our personal computers are getting buggy from using.
Yeah. Oh, from using.
From this.
Yes.
We're all going to need.
Well, that needs to be on
Our zoning administrator got his own laptop this year, and I think it was.
Guys, this probably
$300
needs
or
to
$400
be on our goals, is to move to the cloud, right? Or what is
It is already on
But
there.
so anyway, that's what I
did
figure.
the
If I
accounting
sit down
software
with
already.
everybody, I can create a list, Liz, and then we can bring the list
Okay.
here. And
Before you go, I need to get into the vault to get my deed.
It's
Copy
not in the
my
vault, it's on the computer, but we'll do that.
It is now?
Yeah, land records are, it
Can
should
I add
be. Oh, sorry.
2 things to the other matters before we wrap up? Just the one is I also got that spam email, and I told him that I hope that, what did I say? Only if you wire me the money from your call center in India.
It's best not to respond to those, because then they know it's a real email.
Right.
And then you get.
But I didn't know.
I know, and now I'm just like, how do I block all these?
Okay, guys, and also look at the actual address of
Did you guys,
email.
did they come to your Middlesex, Vermont?
What's that?
Did it come to your Middlesex, Vermont email?
No, it came to my Zara.
No, it was my
Okay.
personal.
Okay, all right, because we have things in place for the Middlesex, Vermont, so it shouldn't happen there.
Yeah.
At any rate, always look
All
at the
right, so
address.
the other thing was like sort of to tag along to Zara's like town needs, sort of like a huddle. Some folks have said it's kind of like it's time to update. Like there was the What's Next Middlesex brainstorming session that happened like umpteen years ago. Feels like decades ago. And it seems like kind of in that vein, like it would be great to have some brainstorming of like, okay, we're, now where are we going? And I was curious, I emailed, I'm probably going to be like a frequent flyer of VLCT. I emailed them and asked if there were any considerations for like mixed use municipal building, because like the idea that our town hall, like the bond got voted down. At some point I'd like, the future of town hall is one of our goals, right? And so I was like, okay, people, like what's out there in terms of like towns that have like buddied up with private, like the private sector to offset the costs of like financing or building or funding like a municipal structure. And so to the extent like they've put together a little committee, it ended up being way more comprehensive than I thought. It was just kind of like a, hey, do you have any like manuals on this? And they're like, we have a bunch of people in our operations team that want to talk to you. And I'm like, oh, okay. So without running too far along with that, before like letting everyone know, I would be happy to like add that, you know, to sit on this like brainstorming session, whether it becomes a committee.
Perfect, because Sandy Levine wants to do it.
Sandy?
Yeah.
She doesn't have enough to do.
No, but she really
Is
does.
she still on here?
No, but we did talk about like having a real sit down to figure out what to do about like our buildings and you know, town shed, town hall, all that. Yes.
One other thing that came up in the budget committee, we had $30,000 put aside to do septic, and we need to figure out whether we're moving forward with that too.
Oh, okay.
We decided that whether we sell this building or not, septic would need to be done. So.
Yeah. Okay. So just a quick, before we adjourn, is there anything that somebody wants to put on next meeting's agenda? We'll have a road update. We'll continue to work on the purchasing policy. We'll have a treasurer's update. Is there anything else that?
Discussion on septic and getting probably the bids for that get going, since there's such little time in the summertime to get that done.
Septic, what's it called, repair or?
Replacement. We have to get a mound system, $30,000.
This is going to cost more than 30, isn't it?
I don't know.
That's been engineered already.
I don't know.
Might be more than 30. It might be more than 30.
Could you bring those with you?
Yes. Septic replacement mound system discussion, action unlikely.
Well, we want to.
Is it in this budget?
It was, yes. It's already, yes. It was budgeted last year. So
for this year?
For this, to do it this year.
A septic?
Yes, $30,000.
I'd like to see that in the line item.
It is.
I don't recall that at all.
Okay, here we go.
From last year's budget.
She was ready. She was ready.
Septic.
I'll find it somewhere.
Like, I thought that we weren't doing anything because we were waiting for the bond.
This is this year's, so I don't have last year's.
Yeah,
It is. No, it is. It's a capital improvement plan. It's in there.
Are you sure it wasn't to just put?
I promise you, I had this conversation with Mark at 4 o'clock this afternoon.
Okay.
And he said,
I mean, it could be in our capital budget, but is it in our actual budget?
it's
That's
in our
my
actual
question.
to spend
Yes,
this year.
This year, okay.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so if there aren't any other matters that come before the board, we will conclude this meeting at 7:08 p.m. And thank you everyone for coming, and good work.